Hey kids, welcome to lesson 4, controlling memory with variables. Lesson 4, we are going to add to our programming knowledge, and the first thing we're going to add is variables. Variables are placeholders for a piece of information that can change, and it is one of the most powerful things we can use in our coding. Over the next couple lessons, we're going to learn how to use it, manipulate it, and make it work for our benefit. You're going to learn a couple new different types of code. This includes how to write text to the screen, some division, addition, subtraction, and the variables. It is a pretty fun lesson, and I look forward to doing it with you kids. Before we get started, though, I want to point your attention to the data type. This is a very common mistake I see, especially with new coders. There is a difference between having something in or out of the quotation marks. If something is inside the quotation marks, that is how it'll be printed, displayed, whatever, exactly. It is just like Google. If you're searching for a specific string, you put it in quotation marks. Outside of quotation marks, it'll be called by your variable. So this is something I see a lot where students forget to do. So please just double check and keep in mind when you're writing stuff, the quotation marks mean exactly what's in there. Without quotation marks, we're dealing with variables. With that being said, let's jump into our lesson, part 1. Variable Toolbox. Let's get started with the most basic example of using and controlling the computer's memory with variables. The Toolbox has a couple new commands for you to work with, which are variables. We're giving you some starter code that does 3 things. First, it creates a variable called score. 2, it assigns the value 0 to score. And third, it displays the value of the score to the console. There's a hint below there. We have a do this. You are going to add another variable, assign it a value, and then display it to the console. Using the starter code as a model for what you need to create now. Use the starting code as a model for what you need to create now. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to create a new variable. We're going to change the name of the variable, set the variable of lives to 3, and we're going to add a console.log message to show the value of lives. Whew, that is a lot we're going to do today. We have an example down here. At the end of the lesson, we should have something that displays the value of the score is 0, and the value of the lives is 3. We have some tips down here, but I think we can handle it without it. You're going to notice we are not using blocks right now. And code.org is going to try to start to wean us from using those blocks. So I'm going to start right now, and I am just going to be working in the text-based version of this. You don't have to. You can still go to show blocks at any time if you would like to. The button is right there. But you will see there will be a couple lessons here where they won't even give us that option. So we might as well rip the Band-Aid off and start now. I'm sure you're all going to do great, so do not worry. Let's take a look at my code. Right now I have variable score, semicolon, score equals 0, semicolon. Console.log, and the value of the score is. Those are in quotation marks. Remember what I said earlier. Anything in quotation marks will be printed out exactly. Anything not in quotation marks will use the variable. And then we have a console.log score. Notice there is no quotation marks. First, let me just take a minute and predict what I think is going to happen with this code right here. I think when I hit run, down here in the debug console, it's going to display the value of the score is, and then my variable, which is 0. Let's run it and see if that's true. The value of the score is 0. Whenever I change this number here, that's what it'll display. So if I go to 100, reset run, now I have 100. I could make this 100,000 million trillion. Reset run, there you go, it displays that variable. I'm going to go back to 0 because that's what they want. If I look back here, it says the value of the score is 0 and the value of the lives is 3. Well, I have the value of the score is 0 here already. So I think all I really need to do is copy the commands that I have and change some of the values. First thing before I get started, I'm going to comment this out. First one is going to be score. Second one is going to be lives. If you put those two little slashes in front of it, that is what gives you a comment. I want the variable score. So my variable again is going to be score. I want that score to be set to 3. Put a semicolon after that. I'm going to do a console.log. Ooh, that popped up. How nice is that? And this one has to be in quotations because I need it printed exactly like it said. The value of lives is, I got an uppercase V, we're going to turn that down. And we have a colon after that. So the value of lives is, that's right there. And the console.log for that is going to be score again. Ooh, I have two little errors here. What did I forget? My semicolons. I always forget my semicolons. Remember, this is almost like a period in a paragraph. It's just telling your code to move on to the next line. What we have written here is that the score, when I hit run, will display 0 right after it says the value of score is. And the second one will say the value of lives is, and it should say 3. Let's reset run and see if that's what happens. Down here, the value of score is 0. The value of lives is 3. That's exactly what we had to do. Anything we change into here, it'll display. So if we want 13 for our lives, we hit reset run. It is now 13. Same thing with the score. Score of 10, reset run, 10 and 13. Pretty easy there. Let's just change this back to what code wanted from us originally. I think that hits all of the requirements for this particular part. Let's go ahead and finish and move on to the next one. Good job, kids. See you on part 2.